Hello everyone, and once again I welcome you back to the Top 10 Strongest No Legendaries series. The last video saw us go after the poison typing, and for those of you still with us here for the penultimate video, I salute you. I want to warn you now, this is based off the 8th generation as the rest of the series has been, so don't expect to see any Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet here in this video. Today, we're going to be looking at the normal type. But don't worry, this video is anything but normal. Actually, it's quite abnormal, because we've got multiple Pokemon from multiple lines, some that you'd never have seen or even thought of, and even one that is only here because it's perfect at being anything else. So enough of this long intro, let's just jump right in. We're going to begin today's list with Obstagoon, a nice surprise that the 8th generation gave us. This Kiss wannabe is dominant thanks to its two abilities, being Defiant and Guts. You guys know what makes Guts so good, especially when paired with the Flame Orb. It'll enhance a nice 90 base attack stat that pairs well with some of its other stats. As for Defiant, you'll want to run that ability if you're deciding to run a Choice Scarf to bolster your Obstagoon's speed. Now, being a dark normal type isn't the most ideal combo for defensive purposes, but it does give you some very nice stab moves. Knockoff, Facade, and Throat Chop are all going to make Obstagoon stupid strong on the battlefield. And its coverage, including close combat and Seed Bomb, is just great to see. You might even be able to use Taunt for some real wrench throwing into opposing teams. So go ahead and use Obstagoon. It's quite literally the 10th strongest Pokemon of both of its typings, and that's pretty nice. The next Pokemon on the list is going to be Diggersby, which is all about its huge power ability. We've got its stats up on screen right now, and clearly it isn't a great looking Pokemon right off the bat. But when huge power kicks in and doubles its attack stat, it suddenly becomes dangerously dominant. You could either have it hold onto a Life Orb or Choice Scarf. Either way, its Earthquake and Body Slam combo is going to be very scary for most opposing teams. That's just such a large array of Pokemon that are adversely affected by those two moves, as really only something like a Corviknight can tank it perfectly. Don't sleep on Diggersby as a really nice offensive option, even when you see those stats. It's a lot more than meets the eye. Let's move on to Ditto on the list, which is an interesting Pokemon to showcase. It's hardly a normal type, but it counts because it starts like that. This is going to be short, so buckle in because we're going quick mode. Ditto uses Transform while using a Choice Scarf, and that's it. The Choice Scarf allows it to pretty much always outspeed the opponent, and then with the Imposter ability, it'll quickly turn into the opposing Pokemon, copying any stat changes and of course running their moveset. It's as simple as that. You just become the opponent and pray that the opponent doesn't have a substitute set up. While Ditto can be extremely dominant, it can also be a complete failure. So that's why it's only taken the 8th spot today. So coming in here is an interesting Pokemon, being Porygon Z. I say it's interesting because, well, it isn't the only Porygon line member appearing on the list. We'll get to that when we do though. As for right now, it's all about this Sinnoh-introduced boy. Its adaptability ability works hand in hand with its stab Tri-Attack, which creates an annoying time for players in BDSP. I mean, it has base 135 special attack, which is already super good. But now you're powering up its stab move by double? That's fantastic. And considering it has access to a move like Dark Pulse for ghost types, there's very little that can resist or wall the strength of Porygon Z. If you slap a choice item on this thing too, it only gets stronger or faster with what you choose to use. Porygon Z isn't the only Porygon on the list, but it is definitely the strongest. That goes without argument. We're gonna close out the first half of our list today with the best early route bird Pokemon ever, Staraptor. Just as I suspected, it's returning from being in the same spot on the flying type list here today. So in BDSP OU, Staraptor is a top offensive option when equipped with a Choice Band or Scarf, boosting either a 120 attack stat or 100 base speed. Its Reckless ability powers up moves that do recoil damage, and just so happens that both Brave Bird and Double Edge are stab, so causing massive damage on the field to just about anything is very possible. And if you figure a Steel or Rock type would come in to prevent Staraptor from dominating, just remember it gets access to close combat too. There's not much more that needs to be explained here. Staraptor is just super great as a bare bones physical attacker. It just would be nice if it didn't necessarily need to use choice items so it could have easy access to Roost. That said, it's once again just outside the top 5, so that should really tell you guys the rest of this list is gonna be very interesting. Snorlax opens our top 5 on this list, and that feels pretty appropriate. Snorlax for a long time in the early generations of Pokemon was probably the best the normal type had to offer, and as competitive got more fleshed out, it fell more and more behind. But not enough to be at all considered not a good Pokemon. It's still a fantastic special wall with good bulk, and with the G-Max form it got in Sword and Shield, it found a renewed sense of relevancy. It's a great support in doubles, with G-Max Replenish constantly getting berries back on Pokemon. It's not only supporting though, it's also got some good strategies like running Curse and then Facade and Earthquake so it could be an attacker in its own right. Snorlax is a legend, and it's presumably always going to be in the discussion among the strongest normal types. So a shout out to it for opening up our top 5 today. So, I referenced it earlier, and now it's time to circle back around. Here is Porygon 2. It gets a nice appearance on the list here, proving that sometimes being defensive is a whole lot better than being an attacker. Actually, as you're gonna see with this top 5 especially, that rings very true with the normal typing. So Porygon 2 is a big Eviolite user, and runs Trick Room to a very successful degree. It's also able to run Ally Switch in doubles when paired with strong Psychic types, meaning it can eat up the Ghost and Dark type moves that might be targeting them. You've also got stuff like Thunder Wave and Toxic as well that try and do things residually. And also, you can run Recover too. So with solid defenses, an ability to heal, and some of the best support you can ask for, Porygon 2 really has it all. Mostly. I guess you can fit in an attacking move too, like Tri-Attack. But you really just want to treat it as a support Pokemon and that's it. I can, if nothing else, confirm regular Porygon is not on the list. But the next Pokemon we're going to be talking about is Chansey. So I guess you can probably tell we've got another situation much like with the Porygon line. The big problem with Chansey is, well, it has to hold the Eviolite, and we'll get into that problem in a short bit. It's fantastic to switch in on special attackers of Chansey, as naturally, it's a massive wall on that side of things, and it can reliably run moves like Teleport and Heal Bell, which is some perfect utility in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it's even able to set up the Stealth Rocks. Who doesn't love that? I mean, it gets soft-boiled too, so it can easily get aggravating over time, being able to heal constantly. Finally, give it Seismic Toss, and you're able to do some very consistent damage and ruin the lives of most opposing trainers who maybe are only left with special attackers. We'll talk more about these ideas a little bit in a moment, but for now, here's Chansey's moment. Let's go with the penultimate spot of the video, which goes surprisingly to Indeedee. As it turns out, this thing was not a good enough Pokemon to even crack the Psychic type list, but in normal type company, it is actually a top tier Pokemon. It creates a Psychic terrain thanks to its hidden ability, Psychic Surge. That partners along well in doubles of course, with strong speedy Psychic types like an Alakazam. Then, with Expanding Force, that becomes super strong thanks to the Psychic terrain, as well as giving Indeedee a very powerful stab move to pump out. Like, if you can throw Choice Specs on this and run that move, you've got an easy support Pokemon that can be just as supported by itself as other Pokemon will be. There definitely isn't as much to promote about Indeedee in singles, but in doubles, boy is it more than deserving of being on this list. I think this just puts over how good the psychic typing is though, considering it couldn't even make it on that one. Good stuff here. But it's time for the top spot now. So, as I alluded to earlier, Chansey was a bit held back a bit because it had to hold the Eviolite instead of heavy-duty boots. But that's not a problem for the fully evolved Blissey. It does everything Chansey does, but doesn't have to worry about any toxic spikes or anything like that. Well, honestly, don't have anything else to say aside from that. Being able to wear those boots was enough to separate Chansey and Blissey on this list in the different entries, but they really are very much the same. So yeah, Blissey is the best normal type, but Chansey isn't that far behind it. So that'll do it for the second to last typing in this series, and it was about, well, as normal as it could get. We've got the fairy typing left, and once again, for those of you who have stuck around enjoying these videos even though they're not related to Scarlet and Violet, I appreciate you guys very much. This has been a fun one, and I've been doing it for a vast majority of the year, so let's keep it up as we finish things up. See you next time for the fairy finale. Thanks for watching the video and for coming through and enjoying Scarlet and Violet with me. We've got so much content coming surrounding Gen 9 through the end of the year and beyond, including the top 10 strongest Pokemon, the best team for the games, and much more. If you're interested in more Mystic content, check out my TikTok and Mystic Umbreon Shorts YouTube channel. When we get to 5,000 subs on the channel, we're gonna have a new series related to Scarlet and Violet that will be exclusive to there, so go subscribe. Also, if you're into fanfictions or Genshin Impact, check out Mystic Reads and Tevotchnary. I offer a ton of creative spoken word content over there, and I do a bunch of theories and lore videos surrounding Genshin Impact. So come join me over there at that floats your boat. That's all for now. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time for more Scarlet and Violet content.